Friends, family, fans, we are back with another episode of Back Nine Bets, baby, episode 168. My Nelson, Byron Nelson, CJ CUP. It's the week of McKinney, Texas. We're going to TPC Craig Ranch. It's going to be a beauty. I'm looking forward to discussing all of that with y'all. We have got the Model Maniac Patreon to you. We have got the DRAFTKINGS FGD code for the first-time depositors. We thank them for sponsoring the show. If you want to go into the Model Maniac Patreon, get everything that you're looking for on your screen that we're going to be going through here shortly. Use code Byron26. Get yourself 50% off your first month down there. We're going to be diving into the model. I'll be explaining kind of what to expect this week. We're rocking the Arkansas Razorbacks basketball jersey in honor of John Daly because I gave the Arkansas people a drive-by in the Fantasy Golf Degenerate show 2 weeks ago. So that's my bad. This is me making that up to you guys. We've got the Razorback 69er going on. So lots of fun stuff going on here. Let's dive into the model. Let's do all of that stuff. Here it is. I made a copy. You don't have to do that. You can just dive into the model itself. But if you want to go in and make your own changes to the model weightings, to change your model ranking, you can make a copy, change those numbers, go there how you want. For me, I'm not really using that much strokes gained history at this golf course this week because I'm kind of fearing the fact that we have a renovation. You know, when we had some new greens at RBC Heritage, Harris English all of a sudden started putting well because the grain was less grainy on the new greens. So things change, and he played better there for the first time in quite some time. So new course, going to use a bit of course history. Me and Sweet Spot DFS. Go check out Sweet Spot DFS on YouTube. We went through and we kind of looked for trends. And is a course history guy going to repeat itself at this venue? Is a recent form guy going to come through and do great things at this golf course? Those two trends never really projected too many guys to play well. What we did notice was that we saw a lot of guys who golf well at this course off the tee succeed. So I have strokes gained off the tee included as 10% ownership weighting for the model because we noticed a lot of successful names at this golf course have been good drivers of the golf ball. Coming into the year, you know, over the last 12 months, consistently good drivers of the golf ball have success at this golf course. So these are your names that are right at the top of the board here. We're kind of finding the names: Michael Brennan, Scotty Scheffler, not so much Cameron Champ, but he is a good driver of the golf ball. Neil Shipley, Shiplak, Keith Mitchell, Coody, Rasmus Nørgaard Peterson, Siwoo, Michael Thorbjornson. You know, these kind of names are the guys we're looking to go to. So I'm all about it. This is the kind of situation we're in the mood for. And then the course fit model is the micro model. If you take a look at the micro model this week, this is what the golf course looks like. I've plugged it in per the scorecard. Some things have changed a little bit. But if you take a look at the proximity buckets, if you scoot over to the side, you can see like a drill down of everything you're looking for. And here we have 50 to 100. The projected amount of strokes on approach coming from that range. Scotty's only going to have 2 shots from that range. He's going to have 4 shots from the wedge range, which is 100 to 150. And then he's going to have 5 shots from 150 to 200 and 7 shots from 200 plus. So 12 shots on approach from 150 and out. Scotty Scheffler, I don't know if you noticed this. This year, he's not been the greatest on approach from 200 plus. 7 shots from that range, and he's barely going to be gaining any strokes, historically speaking. You know, if you wanted to go and take a peek there, you can see here's Scotty Scheffler for 2026, strokes gained approach. If you're looking at how these guys' approach proximities will translate to this golf course, I put that up here. Average drives, kind of like we just gone off with Scotty. This is kind of the situation he's going to be in. He's going to have 7 shots from 200 plus, 6 from 150 to 200. He's going to have 3 shots from 100 to 150 and then 2 shots inside of 100. Rasmus Højgaard is going to have 6, 6, 4, 2. So he's going to have 6 from 200 plus, 6 inside the 150 to 200, 4 from 100 to 150, couple more wedges than most. And then over here, you can see Matt Kuchar is going to have 2 less wedges than Rasmus Højgaard and 2 more long irons from 200 plus. That's just kind of how their driving distances translate to the different proximity buckets. Because when you're running a generic model, you are running proximity buckets for wedge ranges, which Matt Kuchar is not going to have nearly as many opportunities from. But he's a good wedge player. So if you're projecting more wedges being played in Matt Kuchar's hands than he actually will, you're kind of skewing your ratings, because Rasmus Højgaard's going to hit 4 wedges, 6 wedges if you're counting inside 100, which is 2 more than Matt Kuchar. So you want him to know, you want the model to calculate the wedge ranges, the amount of times that they're playing. And that's what the micro model does. If you take a look at Scotty Scheffler's situation over here, we go hole by hole. It tells you, okay, if Scotty Scheffler, the usual driving distance on this hole is 276. Now they've had some renovations, you know, some things like that might change a little bit, but typically when the course is nice and repeatable, we have very accurate historical driving distances. The first couple holes, they don't hit the golf ball very far off the tee. So you can see Scotty's only going to be hitting 281, 293, 284 off the tee there, and leave himself with a lot of 149 to 121 ranges. He's a lot better on approach from that range typically, but you really want him to thrive from 150 to 200. Remember, we saw how many strokes he gains in that proximity bucket. 150 to 200, he's gaining like half a stroke on approach. And that's this year's strokes gain numbers for 2026, because Scotty hasn't really thrived that well on approach at all. You know, he's been struggling a little bit in that department, and we do tend to have a couple longer approach numbers this week, and he's not necessarily the greatest from there either. So some things to worry about, some things not to worry about. You know, you decide. You can change how you want to like use all this information to make your decisions. I'm just presenting to you guys what I think is going to happen this week. So here's the micro model rankings based off all of that stuff. If we kind of scoot smallest to largest, Scotty is number 1 still, obviously, but he is $14,000, $15,000, 14.8. And it's a bit of a situation. We'll chat about some DFS stuff here shortly. Siwoo Kim is always going to grade out well because he hits so many fairways, he hits so many greens, his ball striking is so repeatable. He's a savage from 200 plus, from, you know, all the various proximity ranges. He's going to check a lot of boxes, and he has Pearson Coody. So let's get into some names. I think that's going to basically be it. But I do want to get into one more nuanced thing, actually. I'm going to change the last 2 months to the last 4 months, because I want it to count for the same amount of percentages for everybody. We've had a crazy situation here where if I'm asking for strokes gained from the last 2 months, well, maybe I should actually leave it that way. Because if we take a look at someone like Marty Doe, Zecheng Do, he played the one flight, the Myrtle Beach Classic, which was the week before the PGA Championship, so 2 weeks ago. Prior to that, he did not play the Cadillac. Prior to that, he did not play the RBC Heritage. Prior to that, he did not play the Masters. He did play the Valero. So there's been a lot of golfers who are sitting on the couch watching these signature events. They are watching majors. They aren't playing golf as much as they should be. Some have been in the Zurich, yes. Some have been playing wherever. But the classic non-signature event now, most of these guys haven't played in the, you know, at the top of the rankings and whatever we have this filtered by model ranking for the course fit. If we go by pricing, you'll notice like the PGA Championship column drops off significantly as we're going down here. You know, you're seeing less and less of those guys popping up. And as a result, they haven't played enough golf. So asking for strokes gained from the last 2 months, you're only going to have 1 or 2 or 3 tournaments, maybe 4 in there. Whereas the last 4 months, we're going to have a lot more projected, you know, direction for these guys' games. So if you are in the mood for that kind of stuff, you can go over to the Trenders tab and you can see, okay, who in the last 4 months has been playing great golf. So there's Scotty Scheffler. You can see like who's going backwards. Ryo Hisatsune, over the last 2 months and the last month, he's kind of gone a little backwards. So that's a problem for us. Brooks Koepka, he's kind of struggled since, you know, the last 4 months. Excuse me. It's a bit more consistent over the last 4 months than the last 2 and 1. You know, that kind of stuff. So You can see Aaron Ra, obviously not in the field, but you can check his metrics out here and see that obviously the last month is super skewed by one of them. So the prorated column over here is what we can use to avoid getting things skewed. So one good Aaron Rye situation is going to ramp up your average if you're just using it for each column. But if you're using the amount of rounds in each column to determine that strokes gained, that's how you use this prorated column over here. So there's a lot of different ways. I figured I'm going to share a bit more ways you can use this tool, because there were some exit interviews where people said they don't know what's going on, because it's a badass tool. There's lots of information. So I'm trying to provide you with how you can utilize all of it while I'm doing the streams and go from there. Got to also check out the comments. What's cooking? Woot, 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 woot. Hello, Egos Waffles. First month in the channel. Let's go. We've got new people coming in. Post your record. Okay. Ken Davies. We will get there. Good afternoon, JP Del Frio. Lots of fun, random Kent coming in off the top rope. I do have the betting track over here. I do need to do 1 or 2 updates. I will promise you there's a record. So I do have that for you too. We went what? We lost 1.5 strokes, 1.5 units last week, because we crushed the props, top 20s, top 40s, all of that stuff. We struggled a little bit with the first round leaders, with the outrights, and we even we guessed the score wrong for a full unit over there. So that's last week's record. Boom chakalaka, Bob's your uncle. Moving on to our bets and things like that for this week. All right. First off, we're going to just go with the signature headliner, and it's Jonathan Vegas at 225 to 1 plus 2,250. Woo. Don't say those numbers often on the show. So if we're going to go find Johnny Vegas, you can go either Control F if you're on the desktop and you just type in Vegas, and then it should pop up when you find it over here. Then his name's always going to be highlighted. Now, he is 97th in the model. So rightfully so at 225 to 1. That makes the right number. Makes a lot of sense. Now, he finished 13th here in 2025. We said course history, not that big of a deal because it's a new venue, whatever. But if you have good course history, I'm not going to count that against you. And Jonathan Vegas has a 9th and a 13th at this golf course. Every single time he's played, he's averaged over 0.6 strokes on the tee. So he's a driver. Remember, I spoke about we are using strokes gained off the tee quite heavily this week, because we've noticed that a lot of good drivers of the golf ball thrive at this venue, and it's one of Jonathan Vegas's best metrics. He hits it relatively far off the tee, and he's a good driver of the golf ball. So, you know, you can absolutely see how he makes sense playing well here. He doesn't typically thrive on easy golf courses. We're not going to kind of pretend like that matters for him, though. We've seen him play well at this golf course. So Jonathan Vegas has also come into this week with a 44th place finish at the PGA Championship. And those 4s over there stand for strokes gained, being 4th ball striking last week at the PGA Championship, and 2nd in strokes gained tee to green. So strokes gained off the tee, plus approach, plus around the green play. He was 2nd in the field in total strokes there and lost basically 7.5 strokes putting last week. No bueno. He's putted better at this golf course historically. I'm not too worried about a bad putter. Anyone can go from putting badly like that to putting well. No one can go from hitting a golf ball 285 yards every day to what Jonathan Vegas can do off the tee. And we've seen him thrive at 3Ms. We've seen him thrive at these longer golf courses. If we take a look at his past track record in other events, at the Houston, he finished 14th. That's a very similar kind of golf course. A Texas event, driver heavy, mid to long irons, soft conditions-ish. You know, that's something else over there. And then if you're taking a look a little further back here, Arnold Palmer Invitational for Jonathan Vegas was another top 20. Driver heavy. You know what I'm saying? Long iron intensive, a little more difficult golf course, but a big ballpark. Craig Ranch is a big ballpark, hitting a lot of long irons, and Jonathan Vegas is much better at hitting the long irons than he is the wedges, but we'll see how it goes. So we're going Jonathan Vegas top 5 as well, 30 to 1, and we're also going Jonathan Vegas top 20 at plus 550, because that is a number that I found on Monday morning. Popped that all in the Model Maniac Patreon Discord as we were popping along there. And we are putting 0.3 units on that to win us 1.6 units, so if he finishes top 20 still, we're still cashing the full unit on him after investing a 0.1 unit on the outright and 0.1 unit on the top 5, so 0.1 unit gets us 3 units back there if he top 5s, and then 22.5 if he wins this damn thing, so I always make a rule. I only bet 0.1 units or more on my outrights, because if I'm putting someone on my card, I'm not going to go less than a 0.1 unit. If I'm investing 1/10 of my outright investment on you, even if you have a crazy long number that's going to get you to have 0.25 fractions so that you can still squeeze more long shots on there. If I'm putting you on my card, I need to invest in you. I don't want you to just be there as like a volume guy. I need to be able to pay 10% of my unit for outrights to be there. So Jonathan Vegas is going to return us 22.5 units if he wins this thing. I usually bet to win 10. So I'm just sharing some information with you guys as we're going along, going to Jonathan Vegas' situation. Next, we're going to pull up Michael Thorbjornson. Michael. And he checks 5 boxes this week, friends. He's 9th in the model. And if you're taking a look at somebody that drives the golf ball well, Michael Thorbjornson is one of them. He hits it a long way. He drives the ball well, gaining strokes off the tee. If we look at strokes gained off the tee total, he is what? Number 9 in the field. He's number 9 in the course fit model. He's playing some solid golf. He's kind of gone backwards the last little while. I'm actually going to show a screen here that you can't even see because I've got his name pulled up. So there's Michael Thorbjornson's numbers for us. Put it up a little better there. There we go. You can see he's kind of regressed over the last 2 months versus the last 8, but it's been majors. It's been wedge-intensive majors at PGA Championships and things like that. I'm not a fan of Michael Thorbjornson at those kind of golf courses. If we take a look at the player summary tab is also pretty badass. You can actually get a lot more. If you want to get a lot of answers on a golfer's situation, you can pull it up over here. You can see his track record at these golf courses, his actual stats for each of the last 2 years to the last 2 months, scoring conditions, easy, medium, hard, what his finish rates are for each situation. If you're taking a look at further things down here, you can see strokes gained off the tee projected on this golf course per round, his driving distance, the driving accuracy, strokes gained approach, all of his proximity buckets, things like that. How many strokes he gains on bent grass surfaces. That's what's going to be putting on this week. If we take a look at his strokes gained around the green on the various surfaces, we're going to have Bermuda, where he's kind of a bit better in that department. So I like to see what's going on around there. And then if you just go to the right-hand side, you can see the rankings. How does that rank versus everyone in this field? Because sometimes the numbers, they got the color coding and things like that, but you want to see what's happening in this field. You just go to the right-hand side over here. You can see all of these things. So Michael Thorbjornson ranks as the 31st best bent grass putter in this field since 2025, the last while of stats. If you take a look at his proximities and his ball striking metrics, off the tee, he gains the 9th most total strokes, the 11th longest in the driving distance department for him. And as a result, we have ball striking ranking of him being 20th in the field. He's not necessarily the greatest with the long irons right now, but his proximity is, when he's been struggling a little with the long irons, he is a much better long iron player than we give him credit for, as you can see by the proximity buckets here. Getting like 15th inside that range means you can dial it in from far away. We're going to have a lot of those shots coming this week. We saw, he's one of the longer iron guys. He's going to have 12 shots from 150 and out. And he's, middle of the pack in that department. He's actually got better from the wedge range, but I don't see him as a good wedge player typically. Out of the rough, he is a better long iron player than he is from inside the 150 range. So if he's missing half of his fairways this week, his driving accuracy is actually 62%. He hits a lot of fairways. That's why he's such a good total driver of the ball. Top 50 in driving accuracy is solid. But the 40% of the time that he is missing fairways, he's going to be, a much better player out of the rough. So that's probably where the strokes gained approach kind of graduates him into the top 50, despite anything else here really giving him much of a chance to do so. It's out of the rough that's really working for him. Hits a lot of green regulations out of the rough from 150 and out as well. So that's kind of where we get that. And I like that for him. So at 45-1, I felt like that was a very fair situation. He's one of these guys that gets off to really hot starts as well. Strokes gained in rounds 1 and 2. He's top 10 in the field. And then over the weekend, he finds himself getting a little bit silly. So I felt like 45-1 was a fair enough price to get to see the weekend and enjoy whatever the disaster is going to come over the weekend, like we've seen at the Players, like we've seen at the Waste Management. He gets himself into the mix, but he just can't get it home. So we'll see what he can do. I felt like the price was quite fair in a field like this. Give me Michael Thorbjornson at 45-1. Moving on to our next outright of the betting card is Ryo Hisatsune. Now, Ryo is one of the guys that doesn't necessarily grade out the greatest for me. So we may have to tinker a little bit with some maniac overrides or things like that. Also, I have updated tee times and ownership, which I'm seeing Scotty Scheffler at 51% ownership. I don't know if I believe that, to be honest with you. I don't have the tee times in. Okay, not yet. I did do the overtime. But we need the override situation here because we're going to try to find Ryo Hisatsune. And here he is over here. Why is he's only checking 2 boxes? Why is that? Why is that? We're looking for Ryo Hisatsune. He's $9,300. He's 22nd in the model. I don't think he's going to grade versus our actual ranking. Yeah, the model has him 22nd. DraftKings has him priced at 7. So number 7 in the model for them, it's a 15-spot difference. That's a problem. I've bet him outright, and it was probably because he's a very good driver of the golf ball. I like what he can do off the tee. We have this filtered by guys off the tee. We have this filtered by guys that hit irons fantastic, so his total ball striking is there. If we go over to the micro model ratings and find strokes gained balls, strokes gained approach plus strokes gained off the tee, these 3 columns right over here, that is your strokes gained balls, friend. Your top strokes gained ballers are Siwoo Kim, outdoing Scotty quite heftily on the approach side of things. That's just how well Siwoo's irons have been growing and how badly he's been putting. So Siwoo's top of the balls. Scotty, Michael Brennan doing a lot of that with the driver. Pearson Coody, Keith Mitchell, Jordan Smith, Rico Hoey, Rasmus Højgaard, Max McGreevy, and our guy Ryo Hisatsune. Strokes gained ballers. There he is, hanging out, dangling just outside the total 1-stroke projections per round. But we've seen Ryo get the putter cooking at times. We've seen him putt well in Texas. We've seen him play well at the Valero. We are back in McKinney, Texas. Let's see what you can do on these bent surfaces. If we take a look at, does Ryo have any sort of solid putting splits at this golf course? I guess we're kind of journeying this together. I didn't take a look at his putting stuff. Bent is better than Bermuda. We ideally want him on POA because he was balling out earlier in the year. That makes a lot of sense. Bent grass is better than Bermuda, so he's got a chance to get back to that. We've been on Bermuda quite a lot lately. It's not ideal. If we're taking a look at good shots, though, from 200 plus, that's when you gain over half a stroke on approach. You don't have to be that good of a bent putter to dial it in because you're gaining half a stroke on the field. So you don't have to, gain that many strokes putting because you're going to be a little closer to the hole to make those putts. So it hits a lot of greens in that department. Strokes gained off the tee, pretty damn solid. Strokes gained approach, pretty solid. And then as a result, we get strokes gained balls, which is strokes gained off the tee plus approach. So we like what he's getting up to. We are liking what he's got up to in the last 4 months, not so much the last 2, but we really like what his general baseline looks like. I'm hoping Ryo Hisatsune can get it done for us at 50-1. He's had some chances. Michael Brennan's up next, friends. Let's take a look at what Michael Brennan can do for us to change our world. We've spoken about how important I have valued guys to get strokes gained off the tee. He's gaining over a stroke per round. That's number 1 in this field. He's number 1 in driving distance now that, excuse me for a second. Number 1 in driving distance. And still 45th in driving accuracy. It's not often you see guys that good in both metrics. If we go driving distance, you'll notice that Michael Brennan are exceptional. They're in the 60s in driving accuracy at this golf course. But when you're taking a look at everyone else around them, that is a quick jump into the 50s. You know, some guys, Pontus Nalholm, tons of distance off the tee, but he hits like 11% less fairways than the guys that hit it further than him, even. That's a pretty elite number to have 63 and 62%, you know. Fairway rate, you know, he's hanging out around, excuse me, we're hanging out around guys that are like William Moe, Christian. He's got the same fairway percentage rate as Christian Bezuidenhout, Kevin Streelman, Rico Hoey, Chris Kirk, and he's hitting it like 15 yards further than these guys. So that is how you gain 1 million strokes off the tee. Is you're as accurate as the short guys, but you crush them by like 2 or 3 club lengths off some drives. So that's kind of what Michael Brennan gets up to. And then when it comes to strong approach play from 200 plus, he's 8th in the field in long iron play. We're going to have 6 strokes coming from that per round. A lot of shots coming from 200 plus this week. So Michael Brennan can do that for us. If you're taking a look at strokes gained from 150 to 200, he's 80th in the field. There's 140 people playing, and some of those guys don't even have enough data points this week to justify a ranking here. So not good. But what I can assure you is when he is in the rough, the 40% of the time from 150 and out, he's a better rough player from 150 and out than he is versus those in the fairway. Maybe that's got a lot to do with the fact that some of that's from 200 plus. You get what I'm saying, though. It's a lot of good shots. You know, this left column here is really doing a lot of heavy lifting for us. And then we're just hoping that good shots out of the rough for 150 and out can really overpower the rest of the stuff for us here. So that's what his situation is. He actually putts a little bit better on bent grass compared to Bermuda as well. And I think Michael Brennan is going to be in it to win it. We saw what Michael Brennan did at the Lavaland Black D Championship at the Utah Bank of Utah Championship, where he won that. And as a result, I trust him to kind of get across the line. If we're finding our guy, Michael Brennan, he's been struggling a little bit lately, but he's number 5th in the micro model ranking. So you love to see that. Don't like that he's not the greatest on easy scoring conditions, but it is what it is. We've got that win percentage here, 6% win rate. He's won on the Korn Ferry Tour, the Americas Tour routinely. He won on the PGA Tour less than a year ago. So it's been a bit of a struggle to get there, but we're looking for guys dominant off the tee, and he's going to be extremely dominant. So I think he's going to be in it to win it this week, friends. He's 12th in the model, 66-1 with the 6 places that we dropped in the Model Maniac Discord. Some solid finishes lately, 24th at the Masters, 28th at the Houston, 42nd at the RBC Heritage. Maybe he gets it done this week at a little more driver intensive, more forgiving venue than the others. Houston's probably a very good comp. So solid number, probably going to wish for the 6 places there instead of the win as always, but we'll see what happens. 13% owned at 8K. That's the way he's going to be going. Again, the short game really letting him down in some departments. All right, so that is going to be it for the outright side of the betting card so far. Then we're going to get a quick word from our partners, and then we'll be back in 90 seconds. Hang tight, go grab a drink, do your thing. We'll see you now. Football season is right around the corner, and DraftKings is bringing you their biggest best ball contest ever. We're talking a massive $20 million in total prizes, making this the largest best ball tournament in DraftKings history. And right now, our partners at DraftKings are giving new DraftKings customers a can't-miss offer. Get 3 tickets to play best ball for free with your first deposit. That's right. Deposit once and score 3 shots at big cash prizes only on DraftKings. It's easy. Just draft your team once, no weekly management required, and let your top scorers automatically start each week. All season long, every breakout star, every clutch play, and every touchdown counts towards your shot to win big. Download the DraftKings Daily Fantasy app and make your first deposit of $5 or more, and you'll score 3 tickets for your shot at massive cash prizes. That's 3 shots in DraftKings' biggest best ball contest ever without ever setting your lineup again. Only on DraftKings, the crown is yours in partnership with DraftKings. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. New York, call 8778-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. Connecticut, call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. 18 plus in most states. Restrictions apply. Non-withdrawable ticket rewards are site credits for NFL best ball contests only and expire 14 days after being issued. Terms, www.draftkings.com/promotions in 6/4/26 at 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time. Sponsored by DraftKings. Oh, sorry, boys and girls. I didn't realize I was going to be flexing on camera there. Just kidding. Saw a couple comments. Don't know. I'm going to take this as a compliment. Looking big in that jersey, because big could look good. Big is also could look fat. I am both, probably. So we'll take it as the good side of things. Thank you for listening through to DraftKings there. Use code FGD. We'd really appreciate when you do that as a first-time depositor. All right. We've got 2 props for us this week as well. And we've got one of those guys that will lead us into the first-round leader market. And then we can go and hunt some first-round leaders with old Jim Cummings in the house. Appreciate you coming in here, Jimbo, as all. Okay. I'm back, I think. We're hotspotting it. Internet just went out. So I don't know how good the stream is going to be. So sorry. I left and more people joined the stream than I had when they were watching me. So maybe I should just leave and have you guys just give a Jonathan Vegas first round leader shout at 90-1 the whole front and center situation here. So as we get back into it, as you can see, entire disaster. I tried to watch some YouTube TV while I was disconnected. Just kidding. All right, so we got the models back. We are back in track here. What a disaster! I'm so sorry. I saw a text message from these mother bungers that said at 1:30 it's now the maintenance is going to start, and it should be expected to be an hour, which is now. It should have been over by now. So I don't know. Apologies. It looks like, is the quality okay coming through? If it is, we are going to keep on. Okay. We are going to get to it. Let's cut to the chase. Enough bullshit. We're going to go Brooks Koepka off the top rope, top 20 at the place floating on the rivers, wherever my Wi-Fi is right now. Not ideal. So apologies, hanging tough. I really appreciate all of you doing so. It's been quite some time since I've had a Brooks Koepka ranked 6th in a model for me. There's a lot to like about this man. 12th at the Masters, 18th at the Valspar, 11th at the One Flight. Sucked it up at the PGA Championship, sucked it up at the Houston. It is what it is. I understand Brooks missed the cut here in 2021. It is what it is as well. We just know that Brooks overall finishes inside the top 20 half the time. He does that every single time he's finishing top 40. So basically, when Brooks finishes top 40, it's a simultaneous top 20. And as a result, you're getting extreme value just betting him top 20 versus, a top 40 number, in my opinion. He's probably going to finish freaking 31st this week. But you know what I'm saying? Over time, that's been profitable. We're going to continue to go there. There's a massive drop-off in top 10 rates for Brooksy. But he's super consistent, especially in these weaker fields. It seems like he's been thriving at the freaking One Flight. Masters 12th, yes, congrats. Valspar 18th. So he does some good work on easy scoring conditions. He's been struggling with the putter. That's why we go to him on the top 20 side of things, because the top 20 is basically, you can do that with the ball striking. Remember the strokes gained balls, model ratings. We go here to the strokes gained balls, guys. Brooks is going to be right up there. He is right over here. He's right underneath Rio. Hisatsune, we was 11. So Brooksy's right up there doing his thing, and I think he can do it nicely. Yeah. Doesn't have necessarily the greatest fairway rate either, but he's pretty solid out the rough. He's checking a lot of boxes. He's 13th in the micro model course fit, and, he's been playing well this year. So there's a lot to like from Brooks Koepka at the top 20 number there. That was on the Rivers, and it's significantly better than other places. I would still take the plus 110s out there with ties paid, because that's still value in my opinion. He's top 6 in the model. He's 50%ing the top 20 rate. He's got 3 of the last 5. Nice course fit. Ball striking it great. He's hitting his driver very nicely as well. So I like Brooks as a top 20 bet. How annoying for me? It's okay. We're getting over it, Darbo. Don't stress, my brother. Looks like everything's going well. Can we confirm the Brooks Koepka top 20 bet is making it to your ears? We are moving along swiftly to our next man. Pearson Coody, top 20, at the same place floating on the Rivers, plus 163, ties paid in full. I have never heard of a number quite like this. There's other books that can't quite find the same competitive number without even offering ties in full, which is kind of absurd. So quite a nice number there. Plus 163 for a guy who checks the 6 boxes. He is, when we're taking a look at the 6 boxes, that for those of you that we didn't get that too, easy scoring conditions, micro model course fit ranking, strokes gained the last 4 months, strokes gained off the tee, total finish rates, top 5, top 10, and win rates. And I think I had top 20s in there as well. And then just the overall model ranking based off of the various numbers. It's a bit of double overlap, double counting a bit, but it is what it is. Some guys rank highly in the model, but just finish outside the top 20 of every single box. So I want to make sure that we give those guys their flowers. Speaking of, I was trying to give JT his flowers, but it broke the stream. Sorry. So that was my apology, Jim. That's as far as we get on the Justin Thomas apology tour. It broke the stream. At 2025, Pearson Coody finished 25th here. Makes a lot of sense, right? So we are looking at his more recent track record. He's got a 16th at the RBC Heritage, a 38th at the Cadillac, and a 24th at the Truist. Those are 3 solid finishes at signature events. We can get ourselves to a situation where we now have the majority of people that were playing in that tournament not playing. Scotty, Siwoo, Keith Mitchell, Brooks wasn't playing in those signatures. Michael Thorbjornson was not playing in some of them either. There's not a lot of guys that are both Truist and Cadillac finish rates here. So that can easily be improved upon. And if we take a look at Pearson Coody's top 20 rate, it's 46% of the time. That is delightful. If we go to his player summary, you can see a nice little summary of his finishing rates. You go Pearson Coody, type that in, and then you can see, okay, how does he rank? You're not just looking at percentages. You're looking at how does the percentage rank versus the field. His finish rates over the last 12 months. From a top 20 rate, he's 4th in the field. you know, because you want to compare finish rates versus everyone. You're not just looking at a percentage, because you have to play against those guys. They make up the top 20. So the fact that he does finish inside the top 20, the fourth most, he's just consistent across the board. Everywhere you're looking at, yeah. I love this Pearson Coody top 20 bet. We put a full unit on that one as well. I think there's numbers that are like plus 120 out there that are definitely fair numbers, in my opinion, because I think he's a fantastic driver of the golf ball. He's number 6. We're checking the boxes here. Top 20 in easy scoring conditions. You know, he's top 5 in top 5 rate, top 10 rate, top 20 rate. He even won a couple times, I think, on the PG Corn Ferry Tour. We're taking a look at the driver. He's 6th in the field, like we said. He's a lot better hitting green irregulations from 200 plus out of the fairway. So he's going to be pounding greens. And the beautiful combination of pounding greens, having bad short game, and then putting well on bent grass is what we like to see. Because if you can pound greens from 200 plus and avoid chipping like crap on Bermuda grass, then you can putt like fantasticness on bent grass, which is your best surface. You're not the greatest Bermuda grass putter if your name's Pearson Coody, but you are 14th in the field in bent grass strokes gained putting, which I like to see. And then while we're just down at the bottom of this part of the model, or the player summary for Pearson Coody, he's the 10th best strokes gainer in round 1. So if you're in the mood, you can go Pearson Coody top round 1 guy, first round leader at 50-1. There's 6 places involved with that bet at 1/5 of the total odds. So you're getting a top 6 at 10-1 as well. He's the 10th best strokes gainer in round 1 on an easy scoring condition venue where you can pound greens from 200 plus. We can look at someone that was also going to be gaining a lot on the bent grass surfaces. We're looking at a good driver of the golf ball, easy scoring conditions. We've spoken about all this stuff for Pearson Coody. We like him first round leader. We like him top 20 at plus 163. That is where we're going with the Coodster. I'm a fan. I'm a fan. Let's go. Now, we kind of done with the bets. We usually go to deep dive a couple DFS things. We can do that as we're going along. I do not think, I know Darbo's in the chat. I'm not being salty. I just get overly aggressive towards you on the replies. It's a built-in mechanism when I read your messages on stream. It can be, you could be sending me love. You could be sending me thousands of dollars and I still read it the same way. Why are you giving me $1,000, Darbo? But anyway, go check out me and Sweet Spot do this for 2.5 hours on Sunday nights on Back 9 Bets or Sweet Spot DFS YouTube channels. All right, so back to our round 1 guys. If you just filter by strokes gained on round 1, I'll get this round 1 crap added in here shortly. They take a while for that to all come out. I've been researching bets for you guys going forward. Scotty Scheffler leads the field in strokes gained round 1, despite being one of the worst rounders in that situation this year. He still leads the field by 0.4 strokes over ADDC, Adrian Dumont de Chart, doing his thing, gaining strokes at a 2 strokes per round rate on Thursdays. Significantly better than anything else he gets up to. Model ranking really likes him. Let's pull up DraftKings first round leader market and take a look at some situations that will likely click, whether or not it's at these numbers or whatever, we'll see, you know. But I like the idea of looking at first round leader markets here on DraftKings. We're going to go find Dumont. There he is. He's 100-1. So if I was also eyeing out a Bezzy top 40, by the way, now that we're kind of letting the goose out the bag here, I'm curious about that. I'm bi-curious. It's the Byron Nelson. So we're getting bi-curious about a Bezzy top 40 at minus 118, but I'm waiting if there's markets that give you tires paid in full, because he flirts with that line. He gets bi-curious with the top 40 market as well. But Pearson Coody, we want to actually get the correct bet on here because we are looking at first round leaders, and we can find ourselves a let's just get it off the screen entirely. Actually, Adrian Dumont de Chart, ADDC first round. This is the winner. I'm sure you guys all saw that way before I did. End of round 1 leader is where we probably want to be looking. So Dumont get us back. 76-1. Okay. Don't hate it. I think for the fact that he's just been playing so well in round one, historically, he grades out really nicely. How do we go if we do power ratings over here? Scotty, Siwoo, Pearson, and then ADDC coming in fourth. So I feel like those make a lot of sense. I feel like when you can get someone's round one strokes gain being their significantly best opener, there's obvious trends when it comes to these first round things, because some guys play well early and then struggle before the cut. Some guys, and you can see with ADDC, you know, he plays poorly in rounds 2 and rounds 4. After you've made the cut, when you have to make the putts on Sunday to make the money. So getting him like on the stress-free rounds on moving day on Saturday after he's made the cut, after almost kind of like going backwards as he typically does, he's fantastic in round 1. So give me that from him. Thorbjornson is someone else, because we're probably going to go Pearson Coody, ADDC. I don't think there's that much of a weather advantage, Jim, is there? Because the it's not storming here yet, Darby, but it's storming in McKinney, Texas this week, isn't it? So there's going to be a lot going on down there. Who did we just speak about? It was Thorbjornson. We've got a couple of Thorbjorns going on here. Wow, there's 10 of them on this page. Authors. There we go. 67-1. All right. Don't hate it either. If you're taking a look at the round 1 ratings, he's like right up there with ADDC, ahead of Rasmus, Michael Thorbjornson. He's ahead of those guys slightly. I don't mind Rasmus Højgaard at all. I'm kind of in the mood for Rasmus Højgaard in some capacity, because I was looking at, I think I did a write-up on him actually in the Discord. Yeah. What was it about? Have I lied to you guys about something? I think it might just be like I really like him for a lot of DFS. He has Rasmus Højgaard's little secret write-up that we do in the Discord. Yeah, you know, if we're taking a look at his recent situation, he hasn't had that many good finishes, but top 10 in strokes gained over the last 4 months. That's solid to go with there. If we're taking a look at his course history, he's finished 44th. Yeah, it is what it is. Course fit, though, he's number 4 in the micro model, number 4 in strokes gained easy conditions, and 24th in strokes gained off the tee. So he's driving it well. He's, you know, a good course fit overall, and I'm really liking what you can get from Rasmus Højgaard. And it looks like I was trending towards making it a top 20 bet that I just didn't get put in the Maniacs bet yet. Yeah, so I haven't got that done yet. But here's the Pearson Coody situation. If you click Pearson Coody's name, you can get the Maniac Manifest for him. You can get all the stuff for the CJ CUP Byron Nelson. Here's Michael Thorbjornson's case. It's just a beautiful face. You know, that's basically all you're getting from him. Here's Jonathan Vegas's situation. You know, all my thoughts on that. So you can go into this. This is the beauty of the Discord. You can go into all the different bets. This is where we're kind of dropping all of this stuff. As you can see, I give you some spots that have the best odds for my situations. Here's all the bets that we made for the outrights in the beginning of the week at 9:20. So that's over there. Then you can go over to the Maniacs models and tools. You can grab the cheat sheets from this situation over here. You can go into the research station. This is pretty sick. So here's Michael Kim. You know, he gave us a nice little thoughts on Tuesday at the PGA Championship. We dropped that in there. And then here is the beginning of the research thread for the Byron Nelson. So if we go in here, click this box, open this in full view, you can see I've just been pounding things with all sorts of information over here. Here's, what is this? The top 20 in the model, as we've kind of got that figured out. So top proximity guys from 100 to 200, 150 to 200. We're going to have a lot of shots from that range. He has the same bunch of guys out of the rough. If we're taking a look at golfers, we check 2 of those 3 boxes. So who's good from 150 to 200, who's good from 200 plus, and who's good from 150 and out of the rough. No one checks a top 20 for all 3. Does someone check a top 30 for all of them? I don't know. You know, it's all, but whatever. At least they're doing 2 of them, And Brooks Koepka, Michael Brennan, Davis Thompson, John Parry, Adam Svensson, Keith Mitchell, Max McGreevy, Keita Nakajima, Siwoo Kim, Rasmus Højgaard, Marty Doe, Zecheng Doe, and Rasmus Nygaard Peterson all check at least 2 boxes. They top 20 from those proximity ranges of the 3 key ones this week for me. So those are guys that do some of these things really well. You know, the guys that don't check. Siwoo Kim is 39th in strokes gained out the rough from beyond. Some of these guys are a bit more accurate anyway, but Rasmus Højgaard's next and he's not very accurate. So that's kind of where he lost his situation. You know, you can just see how that all goes over there. Strokes gained balls for everybody. Here's where we discussed, me and Sweet Spot, about how important it is off the tee. I shared our stream over there. And then if we're taking a look at guys that drive the ball well and also gain strokes in easy scoring conditions, I popped that in the model as well. Here are your names. We filter on gainers at strokes gained easy venue and filtered by strokes gained distance, you know, like who hits it the furthest off the tee. These are your guys that are your long bombers that gain strokes in easy scoring conditions. Michael Brennan, Christo Lamprecht barely gained some strokes in that department. Rasmus Højgaard, we spoke about. Pontus Nalom, Pearson Coody, Kiefer, Thorbjornson, Scotty Scheffler, Preston Stout. I wouldn't get into that too much. There's some weird outlier details there. Brooksy, Blades Brown, Taylor Moore gains a fraction. Keith Mitchell, ADDC, and Kevin Yu. You know, those are all your longer hitters in this field, and they are decent on strokes gained easy conditions. So this is what you can get in the research stations. You can find all the stuff as we're going through. Yeah, I've got all my showdown stuff that we do. I pop in my, you know, the box checkers for round 4. Yeah, they all are. Blah, blah, blah. So lots to go on. PJ Best Ball popping as always. You know, we are always up to speed in that situation there. So that's a little quick tour of the Discord, just showing you guys why you should be using code Byron26 when signing up for the Model Maniac Patreon. You get all of this stuff. I did a members-only stream on Wednesday night where we discussed putting in Maverick McNeely at less than 5% ownership. Drapes, right? We had that going on, and he was in a core of my lineups that didn't do well. But he was part of it, and they did a lot better than they should have. So, you know, that's where we're going. Shout out Russell Henley and Colin Morikawa for doing absolutely nothing last week. I will shout out to Justin, and it's Justin Rose, who actually top 10'd us and scored us our top 10 at plus 430 for a 2-unit cash. He cashed our 1 unit on the top 20 for a 2-unit return. Lots to like. So yes, Rasmus, we like him a lot as well for round 1 leader. I mean, maybe that's the play to go to Rasmus Højgaard at. Is Rasmus Nygaard Peterson? But we only have one Højgaard in the field this week, so he's 50-1. We'll see. You know, maybe there's bettors out there, maybe there's not. Pearson Coody's there for y'all as a 46-1 first rounder. If we're taking a look at some other names, Thorbjornson, Michael Brennan, Spieth, Party Marty, all of those guys. Okay, I don't know. Those don't inspire me. I need to do a bit more research into them, but those are your top round 1 showdown options. Okay. Now, fire off DFS takes, people. We're going to be going the opposite way. Obviously, guys that don't have ownership will be deleted. I'll update that this afternoon as we're rocking and rolling. Some ownership up top here doesn't make much sense. Obviously, you know, none of the, you can't have, this is like these 3 names being 77% and Scotty being 51%, it doesn't equal less than 100 because it's almost impossible to play Scotty with these 3 names. So something's got to give over here. The total of these 4 names need to be less than 100, and it's 128. So the ownership just doesn't make sense from a mathematical perspective. I don't think anyone's going to be nearly dumb enough to, if you're going to plug in 2 guys that are like half your total salary for the first 2 names, it's going to leave you with like nothing. You're going to have to plug in like 4-6K guys at ridiculously cheap prices, barely like 6,100 4 times, you know? So I don't understand how the ownership comes that way. It's where I get it from. It is what it is. We'll let it figure itself out as the week unfolds. If I have to edit it myself, I will. You know, that's 51% is not going to be the case. I doubt it. If it is, these other numbers will come down significantly. Now, we spoke about it on Sunday night. $14,800 puts Scotty Scheffler in a price tier that is borderline broken when it comes to cashing optimal lineups, because regardless of whether he wins or not, if he does win, the difficulty of finding the rotating pieces that you have to delve into in the $6,000 range. I'm going to scroll once with my finger and then tell you what I see on the screen. So we've got $9,000, $8,000 range here, $8,800 at the bottom. One scroll, $7,500 at the bottom. Another scroll, $7,200 at the bottom. Another scroll, $6,900 at the bottom. Noticing how smaller the price gaps are getting as we're scrolling, $6,700, $6,500, $6,400, $6,100, you know? So look how many $6,000 options there are here. How are you going to figure out which one of these bozos is going to be doing it for Scotty this week? It's going to be likely somebody random. There could be a Cameron Champ, an Adam Hadwin that shows up inside the top 10 that makes a Scotty Scheffler lineup work, because that's what you're going to be needing. I mean, Adam Hadwin is $6,700. You're going to need multiple of those kind of prices to help you out with a Scotty Scheffler 14.8. So Neil Shipley could be one of them. You know, there's some names down here. Jimmy Stanger. But who the hell's clicking these names? They're not going to be owned. It's hard to decide if they're even worth clicking. People are going to be pivoting to KH Lee and Davis Riley at $6,400. You're just shoving them in there in Scotty lineups. What have these guys done? You know, like, you are speculating to the nth degree. Davis Riley at the one flight finished 45th. That's not going to cut it for you. And why is it not going to cut it for you? It's because when you are playing Scotty Scheffler, we just spoke about not being able to play basically anyone in the $9,000 range. Just organically, you cannot play them. So if you are looking at the total win equity of the field, in the 8 people that are priced in the $9,000 range, the majority of these guys at the top of the odds board not named Scotty Scheffler. And even if they're not winning and they're finishing second and third, because you can have 3 9K guys. If you just click Siwoo Kim, Jordan Spieth, and Brooks Koepka as your first 3 names, you have $100 less per golfer for your remaining 3 names than you would have for the 5 names you have after clicking Scotty Scheffler's name. So you know what I'm saying. We spoke about this a lot. I'll put this in the description of the show below for our show on Back 9 Bets and Sweet Spot, where we went over this stuff. The rest of your top 10 need to score like 130 points, you know, if Scotty scores 150. And that's the thing. Sometimes the 6 and 7K golfers just don't finish inside the 10K range, because there's more impressive golfers. There are golfers that are better at golf than them that finish inside the top 10 more often. Let's just filter by top 10 rate. There's Korn Ferry Tour finishes involved here too. Okay. So you'll see which are the names. Scotty, Siwoo, Neil Shipley, Pearson Coody. It's actually doing me a massive disservice because of the KFT finish positions. But you can see we are KFT. Shipley's come from the KFT a lot. Johnny Kiefer from the KFT. That's a lot. So Bezzy, though, finishes inside the top 10 22% of the time. ADDC, 22% of the time. Haotong Lee, Chandler Blanchet, been playing on the PGA and doing solid work in that department, but hasn't been finishing top 10. So it's hard to do. He's $6,800 still. Michael Thorbjornson, Matty Schmid, John Parry, Rasmus Højgaard. That's all coming from DP World Tour for Rasmus as well. So it's hard to finish inside the top 10. But the further down we go, yeah, you know, you can just see the zeros. They just pile up in the 6K range. So I don't know. I don't see it making sense from a Scotty perspective. I'm going to be fading him entirely. I just think you can have 2 to 3 of these guys underneath him that just have significantly better win equity as a cumulative trio than Scotty Scheffler. You can be playing the same 6K guys, but only having to put 2 of them in or 3 of them in versus 5 of them for Scotty. So you're getting The two guys that you're adding on top of the 5 that you would have to do with Scotty are 9,900 and 9,800,000. You know, so they significantly better names than the others. So you guys know this if you're just looking at the DK pricing. But for those of you that didn't, there it is. Davis Thompson at this price point, at this ownership, is going to be a fade for me. The stat fish of the week was Sungjae Im. Here you can see the boxes that he doesn't check. He's going to be 11% owned. He is a normal driver of the golf ball. He's really bad with his irons. He's a terrible course fit because he relies a lot on strokes gained around the green. If it's wet, if it's scoring, if it's easy scoring conditions, you have to be hitting putts. You know, you score, like the harder it is, hellish conditions, he thrives in, because what are you doing in hellish conditions? You're constantly chipping. He's very good at chipping. He does it a lot. So I'm just leaving him out of the equation here. You can see the different boxes. Scotty, Pearson Coody are the two that check 6. So drop in any questions if you have. I'm going to kind of just scoot over the top of the DK pricing here. Maybe we can just filter actually on the model rankings. Screw it. And then we can go through those. If you have any names we want to deep dive that aren't going to be in the top 20 of the model, we'll peel out, but I'm going to scoot through this and then get the hell out of here. I'm burning Wi-Fi off my phone. I can't believe this is the situation. Do we have Wi-Fi back yet on the home? Oh, we do. But we're going to keep rolling. We're going to just keep rolling because it's almost done. All right. So Siwoo Kim, I feel like you've got to play him. You know, he just finishes inside the top 10 way too much. But my biggest concern with him is the easy scoring conditions. It's the one box I don't think he checked. Yeah. You know, there's a lot of guys that play much better golf on easy scoring conditions. Jerry is all the way at the bottom at the 0.7s. That's not ideal, because what I want from you is to make a lot of putts. And that's what Siwoo Kim just does not do. If you take a look at his strokes gained putting, it's very normal. You know, I don't think you get much better from Siwoo if you're looking at bent grass surfaces versus the Bermuda tracks. He's worse on bent grass than he is on POA, but he's also worse on Bermuda than he is on bent. So he's somewhere in the middle where you're getting that with Siwoo Kim. As you can see, you know, the driving accuracy is through the roof. The rankings for all of his metrics, strokes gained from 150 to 200, 200 plus, he's third and second. So anywhere inside 150, Siwoo doesn't necessarily thrive. This is why these longer venues, he's just a boss, because he's in the fairway a lot. He's middle of the packish with driving distance, but he leads the field in ball striking almost all the time because he's just that good from those ranges that matter. So let's see what he can do, but he's a very good chipper. There's going to be less of that this week, more putting. He's not a good putter. So that's the problem I have with Siwoo Kim. I'll probably just be matching the field at like 20% in that department. But you have to get exposure to him. He gives you too much upside. You know, he's got a second, a 13th, and a 15th here. So he knows what's going on at this golf course. He likes Texas golf, blah, blah, blah. Pearson Coody, though, will be someone I'm probably going to leverage. If he's going to be 15% owned, I'm probably going to put him in like 30% of my lineups, because I like to take advantage of guys that model out well, that make sense. And he checks 6 boxes. He checks all of these boxes this week. He's a fantastic driver. We've spoken about Coody for the top 20 market. I like him at this price of $9,100. He could easily be the third guy you're clicking after a Siwoo Kim and a freaking Mike. I mean, the amount of names ahead of him isn't that even that much. You know, like he's that high up on the DraftKings pricing as well. So, you know, I'm not going to be clicking Davis. I doubt I'll be clicking Keith Mitchell that much either. Jordan Spieth, I'll be playing at this ownership. It is what it is. You know, I'm basically, if you're fading Scotty, that's cool. You know, that's the situation. That's the one leverage that will just get you off a lot of people. Maybe this is going to be 30% owned, 25. That's still a quarter of the contest. That might be just dead on arrival because they can't get the right combinations of golfers along with Scotty. And then if he doesn't win, then that's even worse, you know. So you never know. I like just leaving that alone and moving on to these other guys. That Jordan Spieth at freaking $9,800. It is what it is. If we're pairing him up with a Pearson Coody and some lower owned options that we like down here, then we can go from there. So that's kind of just my general DFS philosophy for you guys. Throw some Thorbjornsons in there, some Party Marty Does, some Chandler Blanchet's, and then we are very different quite quickly off of the Jordan Spieths of the world. We don't even rank ahead of the guys we just mentioned. So that's kind of hilarious too. Maybe we just leave Spieth alone, but he just plays too well at this golf course. He's driving the golf ball too well. We've spoken about Brooksy. We've spoken about Rasmus. I'm going to be playing him quite a lot at $8,900. You see, that is like a nice spot to get different as well. I'm projecting him quite nicely. I wrote him up in the Discord, and I wanted to probably bet him top 20 for some reason, and did not, because he hasn't really finished top 20 much, but I like his upside. Like upside a lot. So I like him as a DFS play because we're going to be getting less than 10% ownership projected on him right now. Solid leverage option, fourth in the model. That's where I'm going to be having him as a core. Maybe we go up to like 40, 50% like in the player pool there for me, because he grades out nicely. He's cheap. Thorbjornson, I don't want to go that hard at the paint with him either, but if we take a look at what he's got up to, it's been forever since he's played golf. The Valero. Like, what is that about? This is the problem about this tournament. And I have a couple. I don't think he's played. Did he play around the world at some point? No. The last thing he's done was played the Valero Texas Open. Is he injured? That needs to be seen. But if he's not, $7,900 is fine for DFS. I don't love the fact that we've had 2 majors since the last time he played golf. Not ideal. Brooks, we spoke about at $9,600. I think he's got to be part of the rotation. He's just enough high-end finishes as a floor guy. I think at some point he's got to bounce into the top 10, and maybe this is a good venue. I don't know if he can make enough putts. So I don't see myself doing much more than 20% of him either. I think you got to rotate the 9K range in there at some point, because these guys are just too good at golf to not be in the optimal lineup at the end of the week. So you got to have a couple, but I'm not overly ambitious about Brooks either. The problem with the putter is a concern. How does Brooks look when it comes to bent grass versus Bermuda? I think, because I think he's a Bermuda guy. Yeah, he loses strokes on bent, but he's like fractional on Bermuda. So maybe he gets it together, maybe he doesn't. He also putted like absolute shit at the PGA Championship, which was on bent grass greens. So that's adding to the mix there. Party Marty Doe at $7,400. I'm cool with 13th at the Houston, 13th at the one flight. 21st at the Houston, 13th at the one flight. That's good to me. Gucci Mama. Keith Mitchell, I feel like if you want to get exposure to Keith Mitchell, you've got to bet him like top 40. If you're looking for anything that's close to 50%, it doesn't even exist. There's a 50% in the finish rates for most of the people that are high priced and in the top of the model here, but he's not one of them. Like when you are only finishing top 40 32% of the time, that's disgusting. That's what Rasmus Højgaard across the world has done for top 20s. That's what Siwoo Kim does for top 10s. That's Siwoo's finishing inside the top 10 as often as Keith Mitchell is top 40. How do you justify someone at $9,400? Yes, he's going to be 10% owned, but that could be like rake free-ish type stuff. Is he going to be part of winning lineups at this price, given the fact he hasn't finished inside the top 5 in the last 12 months? So it's really weird. Do you go to him because of game theory? I don't know. Maybe a sprinkle, but he's 8th in the model. He grades out overall well, but where's the upside? Where's the upside? There's like no upside from him. Michael Thorbjornson at least gives you some top 5s, the 13% clip. He gives you heartbreak. Well, yeah, he's checking 4 boxes, and he's 8th in the model, which is a box checked as well. So there's 3 other boxes that he's checking. He's a great driver of the golf ball. That's fantastic. He's probably going to check the model ranking as well. So there's 2 more boxes there. And Keith Mitchell has probably gained over the last 4 months the next amount of there he is over there, top 20. So that's it. Like he's a strokes gained imposter, because he's way up here when it comes to strokes gained over the last 4 months. Even if we go the last 12 months to match it up with the finishing position rates, he's over here. We can zoom out a smidgen, and then we can just compare the same strokes gained versus the the finish rates for Keith Mitchell. I'm doing a very bad job of handling my mouse right now. Okay. So he has the strokes gained over the last 12 months, and then he has the finish rates. He has Keith Mitchell's situation. You know, Tony Finau has gained more strokes over the last 12 months without a top 10. Shout out that situation. Guys with more top 10s than, you know, like you can do the reverse. Like put Keith Mitchell at the top of this situation. You can see all the guys beneath him. That's probably the screenshot you really want. Look at this situation. Look at how this graduates to more. There's more top 5 equity, more top 10 equity beneath Keith Mitchell in a serious capacity than like at his situation. Yeah, Billy Horschel, Tom Kim, and Billy, not doing the greatest when you're filtering by strokes gained over the last little while. There's guys gaining less strokes than him with way more top 5s, way more top 10s than Keith Mitchell. He's just like these steady Eddie guys, and he just models out well, but he doesn't produce. So, yeah, have fun. Have fun with Keith Mitchell finishing like 27th this week. I don't know. Anyway, back to what we were doing. Scooting down. So Brooks, top 20, Keith Mitchell, Michael Thorbjornson, Chandler Blanchet. I was eyeing out a top 40 bet on him. And it's enticing. He grades out very well. And we've got a lot of stuff missing now. Now you're going to see some columns that I've hidden as well, because this one I haven't updated. So we've got to hide that. Okay. But Chandler Blanchet, he's played the PGA Championship, the one and the truest. So he has played a bit more. But, his last top 20 was a Valspar, but a 33rd, a 52nd, and a 44th in big tournaments makes me kind of vibe with a top 40 bet for Chandler. He's great when it comes to easy scoring conditions. He's modeling out well. There's a good chance he lands up being a top 40 bet on the betting card. At $6,800, he will be part of the player pool as well, potentially to the 10 to 15% capacity to have get to 2 to 3x on the field at the price that he's at and the ownership he's projected at. So Adrian Dumont Deschart doing some good things as well. He's also only played once since the Valero. So like, I don't know how thrilled I am about that. We'll see. Michael Brennan at 13% ownership. He's not necessarily giving you a great track record leading into it this week. We've bet him outright and for a top 6, but that's like an upside shot. If we take a look at his finish rates here, you can see when he pops, he pops. He's basically finishing inside the top 5 as often as he's finishing inside the top 20, nearly. He's like 6% and 12%. So Michael Brennan at this kind of ownership, if your ownership percentage is less than, is more than your top 20 rate, maybe that should be a rule. You're just not allowed to be played. And he finishes inside the top 20 at 12% of the time over the last 12 months, and his ownership is 13% of the time. So maybe we just bet him and leave him alone. Grades out well. Game, you can't play everybody. Off we go. Jordan Smith finishes inside the top 20 32% of the time. He's 9% owned, and he's the same. He's even cheaper than Michael Brennan. I'm assuming he's going to be a good value option. If we want to click the value plays over here, he has the value ratings. Which one's got these are the worst guys? These are the best guys. You want the best ones. Here's Jonathan Bird. Get his stuff out of here just because he's crapping over my stuff, the Bird. The best value ratings based off their price is Siwoo Kim, Scotty Scheffler, Pearson Coody. It's all the guys that model well. And then we get some Rasmus Nyegaard Peterson showing up here. Michael Brennan, obviously. Max McGreevy showing up at $7,300 as 19th in the model. I don't think Andrew Putnam's even in here anymore. Chad Ramey popping up quite a lot here at $7,100. He could do some work. What's Chad Ramey's deal? Putting. You got to get your putter hooked up at this venue if you're going to go low. And he's hanging tough. He's not necessarily going to hit it a million miles, but he hits some fairways and dials it in with the putter and can make some iron shots work. So Chad Ramey, why not? Wyndham Clark as the 6th best micro model ranking is concerning. Let that be known. $8,800, 10% owned. And by concerning, I mean I'm excited about it. I don't know why. Neil Shipley is a fascinating situation since he's such a good strokes gainer off the tee. He gains 3 boxes. Off the tee strokes gained. He thrives in easy conditions. And he is what else? 3 boxes. Oh, he's been playing well over the last 12 months. If you take a look at what Shipley's got up to, it's like disgustingly bad since getting to the PGA Tour. The last 25 starts. Look at what he's got up to on the KFT. Balling out. But he was gaining strokes quite often. Goes to Japan, finishes 13th, loses strokes. Whatever happened in Japan, he left there. Because he's yet to gain strokes on the PGA Tour from a true strokes perspective. But he did finish 38th at the Myrtle Beach One Flight Classic. So look at the off the tee numbers. It's insanely impressive. And then if you take a look at what he gets up to on approach, Shipley is delightful. I love this player summary tab, by the way. Okay. How does he rank out versus his buddies on the ball striking front? Obviously fantastic. 4th in the field in strokes gained off the tee. 21st in driving accuracy, and he's middle of the pack in distance. So that's a solid combination. Strokes gained wise from the fairway, Neil Shipley 16th in the field. You're going to get 3 par 3s and 3 more from the fairway because he's a very accurate driver of the golf ball. Likely on the par 5s, he gets to go 200 plus from the fairway. Then he gets to do whatever the fuck he gets up to on the green. Strokes gained around the green, 126th. But shout out Neil Shipley. Strokes gained putting on bent grass greens. He's 47th in the field versus 81st and 111th on Bermuda and Poa. So you can find a bounce back there. He's also one of these guys that he's like a fine wine. Just gets better with age. You know, as each round goes by, his strokes gain gets better and better. So we can potentially play Neil Shipley in showdown after round 1 and round 2 if he makes it to the weekend. You can live ad bet Neil Shipley if he cracks it to the weekend. It makes a lot of sense. If you're taking a look at good shots from 100 to 150, he's 23rd in the field. And he's capable of doing good things. He's just not translating it very well. He's outside the top 85 in other key proximity areas, but he's solid in proximity out the rough from 150 and beyond, but he loses a lot of strokes. So he must make stupid-ass decisions. I don't know how that's going to translate, but what I do know is there's a lot of signals about Neil Shipley popping off right now that I'm curious to taste. And there's a lot of fun stuff to do with him because his price it's cheap. You know, if you look for Shipley in any market, what are these markets that we're going to find him at? Yeah. End around leader is 120 to 1. If you're just looking for Shipley for like a top 40, I think you can find a Neil Shipley. Let's go top 20 for Shipley. 5 plus 520. You know, when you're looking at what he gets up to on the KFT, he was top 10ing like routinely when he was playing well. So I don't know what his deal is. We're starting to find a bit of groove. You know, the iron play is tough. We've seen some spike situations. You just can't chip. We're going to hit a lot of fairways, a lot of greens. Avoid the chipping on this new golf course. It's a bit softer. We'll see. So I'm not always trying to make him work, Darbo. I'm not. I'm trying to leverage him when it makes sense. When last did I speak about Neil Shipley? We can look. It would have been I did not speak about the one flight. And he hasn't played since the Valero and wasn't playing. You don't know. Please, mind your own business, okay? We'll see. We'll see. Anyway, so that's going to be it from me, friends. I can't keep, the hotspot is, my phone's melting here. Just got a call from my mortgage officer. He's wondering if I'm okay with the bill on the Wi-Fi. Hotspots. Shout out DraftKings for paying for the Wi-Fi today. Use code FGD as a first-time depositor. I really appreciate all of you for joining in. Hit the like, hit the subscribe. Big and jacked. I love it. I love it. No, just got some big fat arms. Use code Byron26 when signing up for the Model Maniac Patreon. You can use all these wonderful tools I just showed you. Popped all those bets in there for the week already. We'll be doing more. We'll be releasing the card late on Wednesday night, but there's a couple more top 40s I'm interested in, like Bezzy, like Blanchet, those kind of guys. I want to research them a little more before really firing off on those bets, and then kind of find a couple more first-round leaders, things like that. Haven't really got there yet. Been spending a lot of time researching. I'm trying to really make good decisions when making these bets. So I'm feeling good about Brooks and Pearson Coody as my 2 top 20 bets outside of the other guys that we've bet outright as well. So let's have a great week. Happy Tuesday afternoon to you all. May your biggest wishes and outrights come through, as long as they are Michael Brennan, Michael Thorbjornson, Rio Hisatsune, and Jonathan Vegas at 225 to 1. I knew I had a fourth one that I hadn't mentioned yet. That's the guy, Johnny Vegas week. It's going to be a great one. We're laddering the crap out of him. If he brings it home for us, we're making some bucks. So have a good one. Catch you guys on Tuesday. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, tell your aunties and uncles about it. We'll see you guys then. Peace.